All right, let's read the Maxx article. Okay, so we're going to see a lot of English here because it's Google translated. So, yeah, I don't know who it's from, but it's on a Japanese website posted 3 days ago. So surely it's accurate and true and real and representative of the OCG understanding of the card. Hello, everyone. I'm A Demon. I'm a fun and loud old man who posts card game videos, mainly Yu-Gi-Oh! On YouTube. Oh, look, it's Japanese Farfa. It's a loud old man. This time we'll be doing the 15th installment of the Strongest Cards in the Universe project, where we introduce some of the most famous cards from the ultra long-running Yu-Gi-Oh! Series according to their birthdays. Today is Maxx. It has the strongest effect among hand traps that have become a necessity in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! An overwhelmingly strong card that has never disappeared from the tournament scene for the past decade. It's been ridiculed as the strongest card in Yu-Gi-Oh! That is not a magician or a dragon, but a cockroach. It is no laughing matter that it distorts Yu-Gi-Oh! For better or for worse and dominates the environment. Today's featured card is Masuji, which appeared in the Extra Pack Volume 4. Player A, chain up G. Go through? Yes, go through. End of turn. The bad translation makes this... I can't tell you how many times I've heard this exchange over the last few years. Among the strongest cards, here comes one that can truly be called the strongest, presently and forever. The cockroach has used his abilities, which are a perfect match for modern Yu-Gi-Oh! The concept of being the strongest because of how simple his abilities are helped many duelists commit as many slaughters as he could. I'm going to blame this on Google Translate. I don't think he said this. There are many players who strongly argue the existence of this card has greatly distorted Yu-Gi-Oh! In the tournament scene, the level of resistance to this card has become one of the indicators of a deck's power. So it can be said that this card is undoubtedly a symbol of modern Yu-Gi-Oh! I think to translate that a little bit better, essentially, the better your deck can play through Maxx, the better it is in general. Because if your deck has resistance to Maxx, then it's got plays under Maxx, which is very important in a consistency over the course of a long tournament. This time, I'd like to take a look back at the history and background of this multiplying G and thoroughly debate how much of an impact he has on the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! When you special, you draw one. That's the only thing that was said about the strong proliferating G. I don't think there's any need to explain it further, but let's take another look. Level 2 Earth Attribute Insect that can be discarded from hand to draw one for each special summon. Once the effect is activated, the process of drawing a card becomes an effect process, so it can't be prevented by general negation interference. If you called by a resolved Maxx, do you still draw? I think you do, right? In modern times, with the increase in counter cards, it may not make much sense, but because of the high degree of freedom that allows the effect of to be activated at any phase and any time with a free chain has the strength of being limited in a way that the activation can be stopped in the early stages. I've said that the value of one card in your hand in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is incomparably higher than in other games, so I won't go into the details here, but there's no way this card, which has the potential to give your opponent a huge hand advantage, is weak, and it's no exaggeration to say that when activated, it has the ability to essentially suppress and skip the turn. The example of interaction between A and B at the beginning of the article relates this. G is so powerful, it's not rare for the player who is hit to end their turn without doing anything. Value of each card in your hand in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is explained in this article. Tracing its history, it was originally created as an overseas card. Yeah, TCG exclusive. Fun fact, by the way. When it arrived in Japan, it was the Ixi era, but it wasn't a game where everyone is making super development plays like today. Development plays, interesting translation. Few moves that incorporate general purpose trap cards were popular. Because of this, it was initially a card for the side deck that could be included depending on the environment and matchup. In an era when themes like Proxy Angel, Wallspring, Sacred Seal were popular, the impression was the versatile Effect Veiler, which is effective to a certain extent, but also had the same hand traps, so was effective against slow tempo decks, was prioritized for the main board. That sentence was weird, but what are these cards? Proxy Angel into Wallspring into Sacred Seal. Proxy Angel, who is that? Like Agents? Is that what that is? OCG names? Yeah, I know. Water is wet, Phantom. Water is wet. Yes. Anyone have an idea as to which ones? I think they could be agent cards, right? Venus. I could probably try to translate them if I saw the Japanese names. Oh well. As time went on, the gameplay of Yu-Gi-Oh! Became faster and faster. In the later Ixi era, it became common to perform multiple specials in one turn to create a strong board state. When the environment changed further during the 9th series, it changed drastically into a modern first-come, first-served game in which players prepare a large number of cards to disrupt the opponent action. Around this time, the gameplay began to depend more on special summons and G became essential. Its success has not changed at all, right up to the present day. In other words, since the 9 series, which began in 2014, has entered an environment where special summoning is the norm. So there's almost no opportunities for G to rest, even in the present day. Regarding limitations, it was once made a semi-limited card in the 10th revision in October 1st, 2017, but quickly lifted 3 months later. Oh yeah, I forgot about this. So in TCG, Maxx went to 2 and then 1 in like 2018. Multiple ban lists in a row. In OCG, I believe they semi-limited Maxx and they semi-limited Ash Blossom. And then they put them back to 3. That was really random. It's like they almost decided, wow, that's insane. I forgot about that. But they definitely semi-limited those cards and then put them back. The result shows that even at the time, it was already the strongest meta card used in almost all decks, but without G, the power balance would be lost because there was too many cards with high development power. As you can see from the fact that G has not been regulated since then, the current Japanese environment has been in this state forever. I wonder, are they going to mention TCG? They are. What's interesting is that in TCG, it became a semi-limited card in 2016, limited 2017, and then banned in 2018. It's interesting that it's a banned card in its home country, but with the ban of G, the Japanese OCG and overseas TCG have completely different gameplay. Simply put, OCG, which allows the use of 3, continues to create new cards that inflate development power as before, but in TCG, there's a number of restrictions on development cards and destructive cards that are the goal of development that are allowed in Japan. Yeah, this is like the biggest dichotomy between OCG and TCG format. OCG format, basically, they're allowed to have, you know, broken special summoning build-a-board cards like Electromite. I think they had Halka-Fibrax longer than we did. They had Block Dragon longer than we did. They had Magic Dragon longer than we did. And you'll notice that even, I'm sure there's other cards as well. Macedo, for example, has Verte. They had Union Carrier longer than we did as well. They still have Block. Oh, OCG still has Block? But not in Macedo. I'm absolutely furious at that. Anyway, the logic and the idea is that, well, OCG is allowed to have more crazy combo decks because Maxx, quote-unquote, keeps them in check. I don't get that. I don't like that logic. I think it's very silly. I'm not a fan of it. Because all that really means is, okay, cool. If I play against a Wombo combo deck, I have a 66% chance of not opening Maxx. So, they still get to do that. But on the downside is that the loss here is that if I'm just playing even a rogue deck, I'm still losing to Maxx. Because if I'm playing like Wind Witch, a deck which summons like, what, 4 times to make like a Crystal Wing? I'm making my opponent go +3 to make a fucking Crystal Wing pass. Do you know what I mean? So, anyway, we don't need to revisit the Maxx argument again. But holy crap, dude. It's like the logic I just don't get it. It cannot be said that this is the only reason. The conclusion is that G has affected the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! To the extent that the existence of other cards is determined by whether or not G exists. The most recent overseas limit has seen a big topic of discussion regarding restrictions on Demon Smith and Apollousa. In addition, cards such as Fleur, Varl Lord, S Dragon. Dude, I love their names. Demon Smith, Fleur de Baron, Varl Lord, which are often used as the goal of development, have already been banned. So cards that end up being general interference with their high development power are being restricted across the board. Yeah, powerful cards get banned faster here. Although G is a major cause of division, in Japan it's still possible to use 3 copies, so basically 3 copies continue to be included in every deck. Since this card will be included in the deck regardless of whether compatibility is good or bad, it is difficult to recommend the card that goes well with it. But if I had to say, one of the stylish points is that it's become possible to access this card in a variety of ways recently. An example in an insect deck can be searched from Resident Bug, Retaliating G, or in the case of Sprite, search by bouncing it by summoning it with Sprite and then Demon Frog. Swap Frog is called Demon Frog? That's crazy! Oh, that's so funny. But yeah, if your deck is I think it's so interesting the difference in the TCG and OCG format. There was a Sprite format in OCG for like a format where it was like 95% Sprite. Like if you weren't playing Sprite, it was terrible. Like you were just not having a good time. I don't know what the deal with Tearlament was personally. I can't remember if they hit it early or if it was after Tear got hit or if Sprite was just better than Tear in OCG. But we didn't have Toad. I think no, we did have Toad initially. But yeah, there was some big changes and stuff before the Ishizu cards. Yeah, okay. But yeah, Sprite was really insane over there, and of course you had the added benefit of literally being able to search Maxx in Sprite. So, which is crazy to think that Sprite of all decks was the best deck, when Sprite is a deck that very much loses to Maxx, right? Like, what do you do in Sprite if you get Maxx'd? Like, what Link 2 can, like, make Elf pass? Get some resources on your opponent's turn? Hand trap them, like, I suppose, right? Like, you know? Game 2. Now that I've explained its history, I'd like to talk about the present. Even now in the OCG where you can use 3, various events have been established around this, so I'd like to introduce them. Regarding deck construction, in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Where decks basically deploy a large number of cards to become the norm, special summons are avoidable, and as a countermeasure, Ash Blossom, Graveyard Designator, and Eradication Designator, as called by in Crossout, are almost all essential. In some cases, Eradication Designator may not be used because it is often useless, but the other two have generally strong abilities. What? Why is Crossout useless? So it is not exaggeration to say that any deck that is even slightly heavy on G is a fixed slot for it. Whether it's good or bad, these cards have tended to be put into decks less in the American TCG environment. Why does he keep saying American? Does he not know Europe plays TCG? G has disappeared from this world. So it can be said that their strength is guaranteed by the existence of G. Although they are strong individually, it can be said that G has made them fixed slots in the current situation. As mentioned above, this trio is so common that you could say the match starts after an aerial battle with these two and multiplying G. I mean, that's true. That's true. That is literally true. Every game in Master Duel is just a bunch of like side quests of who can resolve or not resolve Maxx. That is another thing that is just going on all the time. With multiplying G being the only card that can almost certainly stop the movement of the first player, it's cruel for the second player to have a fair number of counter cards, but everyone is praying for the second player to throw multiplying G. Why do they call it G though? Gokibori is a cockroach. As mentioned above, one of the effects of G on the environment is the level of resistance to this and one of the indicators for evaluating power of a deck. That is what is commonly known as how well a deck can withstand G. For example, deck types such as Fluonder and Runic, runes, which are extremely strong against G as a theme, are powerful in their own, but since they don't use special summons, they are also good at receiving G. This wording, dude. They frequently appear in tournaments, and the themes have shown the world how powerful it is in Yu-Gi-Oh! To waste trigger cards that are almost certain to be in the opponent's deck. Well, I don't know how true this is, though, because, like, maybe at the time, but I feel like these things have not been as... Where's the most recent metagame report? Like, look at this. Ryzeal. This is not exactly a anti-Maxx deck. Snake Eye, Tenpai, Malice, Yubel, Centurion. Like, these are all just decks that kind of don't like getting the Maxx G, you know? Tenpai is fine, I guess, to be fair, because, you know, who cares if your opponent draws cards? You're going to kill them anyway. So, but for the most part, it's like, you know, these examples, Runic and Flunder, like, when has Runic been good in OCG? A while ago. What the fuck is Ryzeal? Oh, just you wait, my friend. What is Ryzeal? Just you wait. Just you wait. Is this a recent one? YOT Singapore. There you go. 25% of the meta of Ryzeal, Snake Eye. These decks are not fans of Maxx. Got Tenpai as well, of course, which is really popular. What is Tenpai looking like over there? Tenpai is... Oh, shoutouts to Malice. Malice is so good, by the way. I think it's just a deck that loses really hard to Maxx, which is why you don't see as much of it over there. But, I mean, yeah, it's crazy. Like, another example is Unchained, right? Unchained was kind of like the best deck in TCG for a format. It was super powerful, really strong. And in OCG, it was never good, ever. Like, it was terrible. But Unchained is really, really strong, or was really strong. In the TCG comparatively. It wasn't really the best deck. I didn't say that. Anyway, Yep, that's your deck lists. Fuvaros, Maxi, Ash, Crossout, Callby. Nasty, dude. Oh, there we go. There we go. There we go. God, all these Ryzeal decks just look the same. 3 monsters, 2 field spells, Bonfire. Boom. Staple cards. Like, just modern deck building is just very not fascinating, is it? Tenpai is Fuvaros, Maxi, Droll, Droplet, Slayer. What is this card? Oh, that's the Solemn Warning hand trap. Oh my god, how many hand traps are we playing? 3, 5, 8, 11, 13, 16, 19? Magnum at 20? 20, just 50% of your deck is not even 50%. 50% of your deck is hand traps. And then there's 3 Floodgate Duster, 2 Slayer. So that's so how many engine cards is there here? Like 12? Bro. Like ugh. This is madness. No Shifter? I think it's because Shifter isn't that good against Ryzeal. Like can Ryzeal also side Shifter? No, it doesn't side Shifter. But I think it's like just not that good into Ryzeal. They can play Shifter too, yeah. So it's more of a side deck card. If you play against Yubel or Snake Eye, Shifter's sick, but yeah. Anyway, that was like a random side quest here. The 2 decks tend to attack hate due to their unique themes from a metagame perspective. The reason these decks always have a chance is largely to their strength against G. One of the reasons why I think G is the bad guy after all. Oh, it's not Rovina. Good G defense is an important factor in other general development decks. If G goes through, how many cards the opponent can draw and how well they can create a compromise board state is an indicator of the deck's power. The most common example of this type of development is Mud Sleeping Beast. What is this guy's name, dude? How did that turn into, like, from Baguska? Terribly tired tape here. Mud Sleeping Beast. Holy. To create a rank 4, you only need to draw 1 to 2 cards, and depending on the matchup, you can easily prepare a lock ability that can put you in a pinch. I mean, Baguska backed up with hand traps is kind of crazy, right? So, yeah, Ryzeal is really, really good because of Maxi. And I think why you'll probably see Ryzeal be strong in TCG. But low-key, this is my hot take and prediction. I think Malice is going to be better than Ryzeal. Not by a lot, but I think people will work on Malice better than they did in the OCG. And of course, Shifter in the main is really strong. Although you probably might not main Shifter when Malice comes out. Because, you know, it's still good against... it's still not as good in the mirror and what's it called? But you'll notice that Malice is very, very... You know, it's probably the weakest meta deck in OCG. Just because it's so bad into Maxi. There's been an increase in gimmicks that can create rank 4s that are strong against G. So does Sakitama, which can supply level 4s. Thank you, Zan. And the rank 4 theme Ryzeal, which is rampant in OCG. On our next page, we'll introduce the well-received themes in Masdo and touch on the content of the matches at the WCS. Yo, that's my goat, Quantal. This is a long-ass article. Chat, do you want me to keep reading? Should we finish it, or should we go watch something else? Well, you like ASMR Farfa, okay. In Macedon, Tearlaments can also be said to be a representative of the development theme with good G reception. Even if you G in conjunction with Kitokaros, you can only draw 1 card. So if you give it up in the development search, Lament played for the destruction of the first world. What? We get Sullik and they get Lament for the destruction of the first world? Hello? They need to stop translating names and just transliterate names. Which has the disruptive ability, strong defense that allows you to prepare minimum disruption is attractive. If you use, I assume this is Sullik, during your opponent's turn to send Kikalos, develop during your opponent's turn with a large amount of graveyard fertilizer. That's what we're calling grave triggers, fertilizers. So you can prepare disruption after the effect of G wears off. In Mass Duo Division of the recent Worlds, the WCS usage rate of Tearlaments, which have a strong opposition according to tournaments, was very high, and there were many instances of players shifting to development after receiving G. I don't know if he's going to mention this in the later part of the article, but this doesn't really have a lot to do with Tearlament being a very good deck per se, or that it's particularly powerful, or it beats other decks more than others. Tearlament is a good deck for the World Championship format specifically because of the shared card pool. If there wasn't a shared card pool, everyone would just be playing full team across the board, mixes of Snake Eye, Yubel, and little bits of other things around the periphery. That's basically it. The good thing about Tier is that it has no crossover with the other decks. Like, your entire main deck and extra basically doesn't have any contradictions or shared card issues with some of the other decks, you know? So that's the strongest use of it. One of the game's strength is that depending on whether or not you have G, you can prepare compact development and interference within an expansion deck. Love this wording. Tier is pretty monstrous with their incomprehensible behavior of being able to set up compromise interference and move on the opponent's turn, making them good at G receiving. Depending on the situation, you can ignore G and secure a kill route, so your dexterity will be a strength. I mean, every deck can kind of play through Maxx and OTK, right? Going first, you can deck out, I suppose, if you tech in some cards specifically. An example of an actual match could be seen in the semifinal between Mago and Quanto. Quanto uses G. He was able to create a compromised board state with a counterattack, and it was impressive to see him take an advantage in the match. My goat, Quanto! It is also true that the unique tactics arise from G add depth to the game's playability. When it comes to G from the first turn onwards, when you are in the second turn and can perform your battle, if you can kill your opponent that turn, then your next plan of action is to continue developing even if your opponent draws a card. Yeah, going second, Maxi is a little bit worse, I would say, though, right? Like, one of the worst things that can happen against you is... I mean, wait, hang on. Is he saying you're playing Maxi? Your next plan of action is to continue developing even if your opponent draws a card? Yeah, so this is the most egregious part of Maxi, though. It's like... Going second, you have to break a board, end the turn, and then also play under Maxi. The problem is Maxi is drawing you more cards. Those cards do things, usually. Right? Like, yeah, Tearlament might maybe Maxi you, and then what? They're basically only hoping to draw Havness. Whereas... in other decks, they're drawing Valor, they're drawing Nib, they're drawing Ash, they're drawing Mourner, they're drawing Bestials, right? Like, they're drawing more things to keep disrupting you. So, that's, like, where Maxi is really busted. In the case, it's important to avoid unnecessary special summons, calculate how many of your own developments can penetrate. Penetrate interference of your opponent's hand traps while your cards are being drawn, which requires highly advanced play and tactics. Yeah, you know, but there comes a point where every summon is just drawing a card, so it's, you know, how much skill can you really have against that? You know, sometimes you can skillfully navigate through hand traps that your opponent keeps drawing, but at the same time, you know, there's a bit of a critical mass there. If your deck is not good at long games, you can force moves to aim for a kill, or if you can judge that it's okay for your opponent's deck to take its time based on the cards you can see, you can do nothing. The offensive defensive thinking that is born from G has its own unique fun. Is that really a fun decision-making point of interaction in a duel? My opponent is on Labyrinth. I guess I can pass and hope I don't die. Oh, wait, my opponent is on Snake Eye. I guess I have to push, right? Like, I don't know. Is that like a fun decision-making point of a duel, right? Like... I feel like there are more engaging, fun ways to make decisions in duels that aren't pass or, you know, push, right? This is one of the reasons why Access, the strongest face-to-face killing machine, is strong. It can easily destroy the board and kill opponents with a certain number of specials from any deck, which is effective even when G is hit. Another interesting thing is that there is a weakness for the user. That arises because G always exists. That is running out of deck. By continuing to special, you can make your opponent draw multiple cards and deplete their deck. In Modern, you go easy to perform infinite specials by making full use of loops. Some players have included this gimmick in their decks against a meta of G. The most frightening thing is with the power modern cards, there are a few themes that can perform special summons that will force your opponent to draw all of their deck without infinite combos. Your opponent will be disrupted by hand traps that you draw during that time, so it's a gamble as to whether you succeed, but it's effective against G. If you judge that you cannot win, if you pass the turn with a half-baked development, one strategy is to consider taking and seeing your development through to the end. You know, when Dark World was, like, slightly playable on Macedo for, like, a whole week, bro, I'm not gonna lie, I loved getting Maxi. The one exception to the rule. I'd recommend you go on my YouTube and watch some of those videos. Just type in Farfa Dark World. Like, man, some of those games were so fun. Like, playing through multiple disruptions and then just decking your opponent out. It was good shit, dude. I love that. Gigantic Fighter, which can be summoned at Synchro 8, is a relatively easy card to use in a variety of decks to try and kill. If your opponent has a powerful monster, you can repeatedly attack and revive. The entire theme of Uncharted Territory. Is that what they call Danger? Uncharted Territory? Crazy. Has a special effect that does not require turn 1. It was once a big hit as a G killer. Once you've deployed your deck to a certain extent, you can aim for a library out by using Hand Elimination. Hand Elimination. Shoutouts to Jesse for that one. Having introduced the gameplay and fun tactic created by G, I would now like to state my conclusion. Fun tactics? The existence of G is quite unhealthy. However, simply erasing its existence is even more unhealthy. This is the author's opinion. He's going with the necessary evil argument. No matter how many interesting tactics are being created, many players have been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! With G for over 10 years. It's just my personal opinion, but it's interesting. I think it's about time for some change. Wait, what? I'm confused. Two of these things can't both be true simultaneously. You're saying that banning Maxi would be even more unhealthy, but we also need change. Well, what other change is there other than banning it? No matter how uniquely interesting a game may be, the existence of G has resulted in many games that are not really games. Yeah, weird! There are many cases where if you hit G without any countermeasures in your first hand, you are almost guaranteed to lose. And what's worst of all is when the player who has the strongest in the first hand follows up with G. Exactly. Unless something extraordinary happens, the game won't turn around. To put it bluntly, there are so many situations where G brings the game to an end that it's no exaggeration to say that it's an X-win card with a higher win rate than Exodia. I mean, to be fair, Exodia's win rate is in the dirt, so... Even in casual environments where tournament seas are not anticipated, the existence of hand traps has recently begun to be accepted, but it is not uncommon for it to be excluded as a kind of etiquette or tacit understanding to the point that there are patterns in which G is not included. Look, man, if there are Japanese locals that are unironically doing gentleman's agreement not play Maxi, then I think you need to maybe realize that this card is a problem, right? If people are having so little fun playing with Maxi that people are literally saying, hey, gentleman's agreement, no Maxi, that's your answer. If you ask whether this can be solved by making G a banned card, as in the TCG, the current difficult point is that this will definitely not be the case. Okay. Good argument. If you're suggesting that Maxi should be banned like in the TCG, the difficult point about this is that it won't happen. I mean, I guess true. As mentioned above, the current OCG has continued to create cards with G in mind, which has resulted in a tremendous inflation of deployment power. I love that term, deployment power. What do we call that? Just combo? It is now commonplace that playing one or two ordinary hand traps will easily penetrate your deployment. Even more so, there are now more gimmicks that allow you to prepare interference monsters in a compact deployment to take care of triggers in advance, such as Demon Smith and Azamina. In the official card game division with the most recent WCS, OCG, and TCG limits combined, which resulted in banning G, while allowing Demon Smith and full power U-Bell, resulting in many games which the leading player was able to break through 2 or 3 hand traps and push through with their development. I mean, it's not wrong, right? Like, going first is, like, significantly stronger. We can take a look at the stats in just a moment, but... yeah, I mean, full power U-Bell at the tournament, going first. Watching Ruben play that deck was incredible. Like, regularly just pounding through 3 hand traps and basically ending on full board, you know? So, Considering the results of the World Championship, Modern Yu-Gi-Oh! Is now following it to state where there are no hand traps other than G that can reliably suppress an opponent's first turn. I mean, that's the problem, but, like, do we want a situation where one hand trap wins the game? Like, I don't think that's healthy, right? Yeah, like, there are no hand traps that stop G, right? Like, I don't think ashing your opponent should end their turn. I don't think imperming your opponent should end their turn. They should be able to extend. The problem, I think, is that when those extenders do everything that the first card did. If you normal summon Snake Eye Ash and I imperm it, that should severely cripple the rest of your turn. You shouldn't be able to summon Dia Bellstar and then do the exact same combo. Like literally, card for card, exact same end board. Right? That shouldn't be a thing. They have to, like, design cards so that extenders help you push, but they don't help you just achieve the same exact end board. Do you know what I mean? That's the problem. Because that at that stage, all that's happening is that you're activating Ash or Imperm and you're going -1. You are literally just going -1. You are doing nothing. If only G was banned in this situation, it's easy to imagine what would happen. Its existence restricts gameplay, but even if restrictions are imposed, the game may fall apart, so it can be said that G has become a rather difficult existence. Yeah, difficult is one way. With the appearance of Yubel Demonsmith as Amina, the development of power in Yu-Gi-Oh! Has risen to another level of inflation. Because triggers can easily be avoided and penetrate, the reality is that in the current environment, only triggers like G that can deny the base of the opponent's development are functional. In the WCS 24, which does not have G, there were many cases where the player who went first would overcome the opponent's hand traps and decide the game. And it is no exaggeration to say that the fate of the game was entrusted to the first dice roll to decide who would go first. Okay, but the thing is, like, Maxx is also just introducing another dice roll. You know, it's like, okay, draw my opening 5 cards and roll a dice on the percentage chance of opening my 3 of Maxx. That is another layer of variance, another layer of randomness that is being decided. It's like, okay, cool. Step 1, win the dice roll. Opponent step 1, draw Maxx. Both of these numbers are being generated and rolled before a game has started. It's just more variance. So the problem isn't... This author's problem with their approach to this situation is that they are analyzing this from the perspective of, we need to cripple going first by adding variance. You shouldn't cripple going first by adding variance. You should cripple going first by weakening the power of the game, right? Like, and buffing going second, right? We shouldn't have more variance to decide games. In the semifinals between Ruben and Jose, who both acknowledged their skills were equally matched, one of the players commented in a post-match interview that I was lucky to win the dice roll. So even if that was not the only factor, it was clear how important it was. The situation is beginning to change with the recent development. With the emergence of new age hand traps of Mulchami and Dominus, hand traps could replace G have begun to appear. Yeah, so ban them! Ban them soon! They're making Ferosa, and they're making, Dominus Purge. And or what's the good one called? Dominus, I don't know, penis, whatever. If you could arguably win the game off of the back of Fiveros, right? So just ban Maxx. Like, they still haven't done that. When's the next OCG ban list? It's soon, isn't it? Like, this month, or is it early October? Like, they could hit Maxx. Wait, Monday? For reals? Holy shit, dude, they might actually ban Maxx. I mean, we said that last ban list, but we'll see. Because here's the thing, right? If they ban Maxx in the OCG, card design gets better. Unironically, because they can't make more and more powerful decks. So, copium, but maybe it'll happen. Like, I hope the designers of Konami in Japan look at something like Maxx and realize, you know what? Mulcharmy, Fiveros, and Perilia aren't there because we need more Maxxes. They're there to replace Maxx. My personal outlook is that the number of hand traps of this type continue to increase. We can make adjustments in the future to the point where we think even if G is regulated, it'll be fine because there are so many other hand trap options. The problem with G will finally be solved. Adjusting the speed of Yu-Gi-Oh! Will be an incredibly difficult task, but look at their most recent cards. We can have high hopes for the official environment adjustments that will be made in the future. Mulcharmy, which allows you to draw cards in accordance with your opponent's specific actions, is truly tuned G. It's a well-tuned card with draw conditions. I don't know, Fiveros is a little bit overpowered in my opinion, but anyway. It's better than Maxx, obviously. The need to return some cards to the deck at the end phase, even if you end up with an exorbitant amount of cards in your hand, and the fact that you can use it when the field is empty. You can only use it when the field is empty is the important part here. As a trap card, it can be caught by Designator and can be destroyed if the conditions are met, making the Dominus series a new generation of hand trap. If you set it and activate it, you won't be able to take a pledge, and there are support and synergies that you can only get from a trap, making it very interesting. This time, I'd like to take a look back at the current situation with the most questionable cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! G. I feel like I ended up writing a bit of a negative message at the end, but I hope that you won't dislike it too much and that it's a card that has its own unique fun and difficulty to it so that you can wrap things up on a happy note. Like, it's not completely wrong to say that Maxx doesn't offer some degree of decision-making in duels. I just don't think a lot of those decisions, 9 times out of 10, those decisions are fun decisions. Like, yes, there are situations where, you know, going second, you do have to weigh up, should I push, should I clear, should I try and go for game, do I need to consider the potential of my opponent drawing the Biru? Like, there are situations where things like that can be kind of interesting, but the negatives far outweigh the positives in my opinion. I think most players have both been killed and saved by this card. Killed? I don't know if anyone's died to Maxx. I hope not. Please continue to enjoy shooting and being shot without hesitating. What's going on? This translation. I hope you will continue to be useful to me until the end of your life, cockroach. I plan to continue writing articles introducing awesome cards in many ways like this in the future, so I hope you'll check them out. Until then, good luck. Alright. Yep. So, I don't know. I think I don't need to make a conclusion of sorts. I've basically yapped all of my thoughts through this, but ultimately, this is pretty good article, to be fair. I know he ends up being somewhat positive about it. Kind of, I don't know, it's funny. You could interpret it both ways. I feel like this is the most balanced article I've ever read and discussion on Maxx from the OCG perspective, so it was actually a good read, all things considered.